Hello, everybody. How are you today? Good, I hope. Why, hello, Zykes1. Here we are with another day of Esoteric Ebb. As you can see, we have the Mighty Cleric, and we're going to continue on with what we were doing. What the heck were we doing? Oh, Silver Cass has subscribed with 29 months. Well, thank you, Cass. It is always appreciated. Alright, so we were in this room with, like, this dead gnome. Oh, wait, he's sleeping. What else we got here? Oh, yes, we were reading some books. He is ultra smart. Like, let's look how smart he is. He has a 5 wisdom and a 10 intelligence now, but a 23 strength. That's pretty darn smart if you ask me. We also need to eat something because we were getting low and a little low on HP there. What other crap? Oh my god, what is this crap? Wisdom, charisma, strength. Oh my, this key gives some wisdom and dex. Ugh, I hate it. That's con and charisma. I like that intelligence for esoteric stuff. You have the cloak, buddy. Yeah, alright, let's get on with some of this reading. Open, A Blind Manifesto by the Hedonists. The book. Always listen to your hungry stomach, it says with big ugly letters on the first page. You should listen to the book and the stomach. This foul debauchery. This crazy old text. Same as always, the book begins with the tirade about property ownership. Then on the 5th page you find a diagram showing how to ritualistically summon a demon. It's incorrect, however, on purpose, supposedly. The rest is a series of extreme essays on the topic of hedonism, rejection of statehood, free association, maximizing sensation, direct democracy, and reciprocal exchange. It paints up an image of an ideal world where all can live without strife simply through the cooperation and love of all things. Made illegal in the cities after its release in 466 AE, this rambling text has survived for one reason or another. It is the thing that makes you feel good. The text of truth. Look at the next chapter on free love. You flip to page 52. You remember it well. It has pictures! Tiny scribblings, something akin to stick figures, positioned in various and wrapped unities. You remember the words well, the guide on how to make ultimate sensations of flesh. Remember it well. You will need this one day. Let's put the book away. Open. Memoirs of a Statesman by Nicholas Darrow. The Coin Lord's own book. The first few pages are devoted to a rambling text about the history of governing, from ancient texts from various beasts of yore, to gods of the divine era, to several arcanist figures. Darrow then smoothly moves on to conflate their accomplishments with his own. especially since he also includes an explanation of his lineage, that he is a direct firstborn grandson of Borgodero, the first paladin of Earth. The many pages go on to describe both practical but mostly theoretical methods in statesmen should use when dealing with the populace, the bureaucracy, and the ideologies of modern life. Generally, the book has a rather rough tone about democracy. A quote you've heard before from this book pops up towards the end. "Those who believe in democracy have a wonderful view of folk. To think them capable of making rational and informed decisions devoid of personal bias and emotional conduct." From what you remember, it's caused quite a stir when it came out 2 years ago. You recall a humor about Shield Lord Yarn having hated this book so much during its printing that he personally bought 200 copies only to burn them in his garden. It's probably not true. Probably. Put the book away. Open The Dark Book of Shadow by the Shadow Lord. You pick up the black-covered tome. A faint tingling goes through your gloved hand.
That's the most evil book I've ever seen. How'd they even get that cover to be that black? It's like a void.
A memory lingers in this tome. If you open it, you shall recall. Open it despite its evil nature. Oh shit. The text is not dangerous. The pages show but a holy scripture of the Shadow Lord's lost religion, one of eternal servitude and the search for life in death. However, you remember it well. This was the first book you were ordered to study as punishment for your idiotic behavior at the towers. You remember your journey towards the esoteric. Alright, we're gonna recall it. Shit! Ah! How painful it was! To know beyond any doubt how alone you truly are. Blurred faces, hushed whispers. A crowd of thoughtful peers, each snickering about your hand. A raised hand among a crowd of sheep. Patriarch, it's not just a religious text. They stare at you. It's a spell book. Those were the words. Oh, how they laughed. He asked you to prove yourself. So you did. I went up to the Patriarch. I took the Book of Shadows. Yes. Then memorized Detect Alignment. You memorize it on the spot. Then you cast that ancient spell once used by the Death Knights of the Shadow Lord to subjugate and control the minds of his people. A spell it is, despite its first level, not learned by most clerics until they grasp the intricacies of higher tier casting. Death Knights. Death Knight, a term for warriors of necromancy. Many were created and fraught during the Ghost War, but most legendary were the Death Knights of the Shadow Lord during the Divine Era. Everyone was left stunned by your excellence. To not only master such a spell, but to do it in seconds instead of days. That moment, it was yours. From that moment, you marked your place as the towers of the greatest spellcaster, the greatest talent among them all. However, as always, the weak feared the strong. That moment also began your ostracization. You would never be among them, never have peers. None would see you anyway, as a brother or a comrade. I would be a leader. I'd be an enemy. I'd be an obstacle. I would be their end. Gosh. Wow, this went dark. I don't see the cleric as a leader. And I don't think he'd go around threatening to be their end. So I'm going to say he'd be their enemy. I would be an enemy. Yeah, I'd be an enemy. You are. And you shall continue to be. Gasped for air. Ramsacko salvage. I tried sleeping, I can't sleep, so I'm gonna do something stupid. I concur. Always do something stupid. Midnight spaghetti. I love midnight spaghetti. Your vision is blurry. It is filled by the pages of that book. It is a good one, despite its religious fervor. As many say, the Shadow Lord was as much an early arcanist as the greatest of the walking gods. Close the books. Well, what the shit? What do I... Shit, I got a third level spell now. Crusader's Mantle. Holy power radiates from you from an aura with a 30-foot radius, waking boldness in you and all other friendly creatures until the spell ends. Your aura moves with you, centered on you, while in an encounter, you and your allies will add 1d12 to all ability checks. That's awesome. That knock barkskin, speak with animal, shield of faith, good apple, grease is classic, detect alignment. Interesting. Well, what the fuck is that? A magic quill and paper. We'll yoink that. Advantage against bureaucracies. Bureaucrats. Interesting. Well, let's put that there for now, because I'm feeling we're going to get into some bureaucracies. Halfling Fordfolk. Level 4 Scholar. A scholar of the Fordnip Commonwealth, a man working out of a hole in the wall. This is the type of man who knows exactly where he's going, is simply going there very slowly and deliberately. He also knows his expertise. His moves are calculated, his journeys are long. Alright, let's wake his ass up. You take a step into the cramped office standing in the front of the sleeping halfling. Kick the lounge chair. Good forenoon, citizen! Hello? I like number 2. Oh! He mutters and widens his bushy eyes. His confused gaze focuses on you. Life is pain. Kick the chair? What? Terrible, terrible pain. Oh, he mutters and rubs his face. He's pretty old and tired. Are you? He looks at you with his wary expression. Then he rubs his nose and sniffs twice. Are you here for the invoice? As a quick glance to Snell. His words come out in a typical Fordnip accent. What? The invoice! I don't have any invoices, not for you at least. You don't? Oh, hold on. I already paid that invoice. You're here for something different. He leans in, facing Snell. I hope Queen Goblin has no more quarrels with this old scholar. He holds up his palm.
Nah, we're here on city business.
Yes, I've got some questions about the tea shop, mostly. Tea shop? Then you're dealing with the interesting events? The city has seen its fair share of great calamities over the years, and the tea shop explosion appears tiny in comparison. Tiny? No, it's a huge conspiracy. A huge one? Better take care of it, then. Curiosity is absolutely vital for keeping the old brain in motion, so I commend you, cleric. And you as well, my friend Goblin. He looks around grunting. Can I get either of you some fucking water, or... This halfling is wild in a fun way.
No, thank you.
Your companion replies very quickly. You're Scholar Appleton, right?
Me? Yeah.
I am Snur Appledent, he says and bows his head in the chair. Scholar of Fordnip University is in dictated service to the progress of AIS. AIS? Alignment Intent Studies. Primarily, my expertise lands on the topic of alignment and its many historical and contemporary applications. Some bullshit, I will tell you. These studies, I mostly deal with our forms of study. Specifically, I run this office here on the experimental technique of psychoanalysis. What kind of magic is that? No magic at all. Although there have been some detect thoughts involved at some point in the development. It's a form of mind healing, as they call it. It'll be one to call support instead. It is essentially the idea that the mental present is shaped by the mental past, and though dialogue, our unreleased unconscious ghosts can be vanquished. So it's talking about feelings? I know, truly horrifying. A Rhodesian friend of mine once told me this joke, and I apologize if it's too vulgar for your taste, but he sputters out the words through little chortles. Listen to the vulgar joke. Right. A cleric, an arcanist, and a rogue delve into the lair of a succubus. A fiend defeats all three men, throwing them in her dungeon. But she grows a fancy to them, so she can offer them a choice. For each man who can successfully satisfy her, she will let that man go. Otherwise, he speaks with a little fit of laughter in between, she ends up, so to say. This is gonna be a long tale. You actually haven't heard this one. If it's sacrilegious, you'll have to beat the gnome. Ho ho ho! A succubus, a fiend, would never offer such terms to mortal men.
Yes. Let me tell the joke. So, the three adventurers debate in which order to go. Eventually, the rogue and the arcanist decide the cleric should go first, as he is a virgin and will least likely to increase her standards. The goblin companion rubs his eyes as he listens to the joke. The cleric, being divine and so on, prays to his god and goes to the fiend's bedchamber. He comes out 10 minutes later, completely unarmed, and gives a thumbs up to his two friends, who of course feel a great sense of relief. The arcanist goes next, confident and arrogant. If the cleric could do it, the fiend must be easy. Within minutes, his bones roll out of the bedchamber entrance, the man having been incinerated by hellish flames. The rogue is horrified, but realizes, obviously, the arcanist overestimated his abilities, so he carefully enters the bedchamber, ready to put every ounce of effort into it. Less than a minute later, screams erupt from the bedchamber, and the rogue's lifeless corpse falls out of the entrance. The cleric prays for the souls of his comrades and gathers the remains for burial. The succubus steps out, smoking a cigarette. She tells the cleric, "My, your friends were truly terrible. They were just fumbling around down there. At least you managed to touch it a little." To which the cleric responds, "You are truly an awful creature, and I'll pray for your presence to be exorcised from this plane of existence every day until I die." Then, before he walks out, the cleric also adds, "Oh, but I will heal that horrible wound you had between your legs. Hopefully that makes you a little less evil in the future." I did heal that horrible wound between your legs. Hopefully that makes you a little less evil in the future. The goblin lets out a slight gust of wind through his nose. I don't get it. Oh.
The halfling chortles loudly.
Like on humor, you might say. In short, you could view the succubus as an evil in the world which religious fervor would pray to repair. However, such reparations could often lead to a not-so-optimal path. He keeps on laughing. Or most simply, you could say it's a basic allegory for alignment itself. The cleric meant well for all intents, but his actions cost the lives of both his comrades. Is that evil, or is it good, and so on? Either way you psychoanalyze, yes, that's where we're going about what we're talking about here. It's about your feelings, thoughts, memories, choices you made, things that have happened to you. They can bog you down, so to say, and the goal is my clinical practice is to root that out in my patients' minds and help make them aware of repressed negative baggage, if you will, so one can move forward more speedily.
I don't have any repressed negative feelings.
A bold claim! But it's not the only thing I work with on here. I'm currently exploring the dream of anima animus.
Sounds interesting.
It is. Beyond that, I also focus on a lot of my own unverified theories.
He slaps his knees and grins.
The folk spirit, have you heard of it?
No, I have not.
Understandable. It's not yet published. The folk spirit is a working title for my new thesis. Most of it is, if you excuse my ignorant, fucking bullshit. But in short, it is about how each folk share a number of core communal archetypes, or myths. I have traveled around the coast to collect as many tales, writing down thousands of stories previously only passed down orally. All to see how well my theory holds up in the mind of so many folk.
He clears his throat and leans back into his chair.
Apologies, I'm ranting here. Let us put a stop to this. What do you want, cleric?
Oh, what is love?
Love?
He lets out a frustrated groan.
Ugh. Pure calamity. Deadly and destructive. Its nature is just perverted and foul because it's a complete surrender without idealization. To love is to accept without proof or demand or conditions. This complete surrender to another, ridiculously risky.
Thank you, Dr. Osphelia. That is exactly what I was hoping for would come up.
This guy's more fucked up than you are.
Yeah, fuck love. Give him a fist bump.
Yeah!
He bumps your fist.
Fuck it right away.
Then he takes a breath.
Love is completely unpredictable and dangerous encounter. And I have yet to meet a sentient folk which is not affected by it. And interestingly enough, I see no difference in universal elf love, halfling love, devil love. True love is always irrational. It is finding the perfect inside of an imperfect and falling entirely into it, swallowed by it. Some folk might act out in a different way, depending on their communal nature or biological urges. But if you are one of the few who do not need to go, good, be happy. If you are not, then good luck and may the gods bless your soul.
What are you voting for in the election?
I'm a filthy as Galeist.
Why call it filthy?
Have you ever seen a clean as Galeist?
He laughs at his own joke. Joke.
The green banner is the green banner is flown in a strange context here in this Republican wet dream of ours. Asgaleism is supposed to be about abolishing the entire structure of hierarchy. That history is driven by economic struggles, specifically the clash between the classes. Asgal's end goal is a classless, stateless society where everyone's equal. But looking at the Norvikian Asgalists, it's clear to me they long ago let this goal slip past. Look at them! They're shaking hands with the establishment, trying to find a peaceful solution, they say.
You want a violent revolution? He frowns.
Look,
The hairy halfling mutters.
Genuine change, true change, needs a truly revolutionary break with the existing order. There is no doubt about that. Incremental reform, small changes within the capitalist system will always fail to address its fundamental contradictions and injustices. My time in Reeds made that clear to me. But always be wary of simplistic utopian visions. It is a clear path covered in corpses that will lead to such blind idealism. So, I will vote for this social democratic compromise. This handshake with capital. Then I'll go home and piss myself and die dreaming the next generation will have answers I do not.
I, on the other hand, am not an Asgilist.
Lucky bastard.
With a deep groan, he starts rubbing his hairy face.
Workers, unite and unionization and guild power. Ugh, it's all good and well until it gets too loud. Make a bit too much noise, and the true powers quickly and efficiently drop this illusionary mass facade, the esoteric spell that tricks us into thinking they care, or that they are in any way Fulgarian. So what about you, cleric? Tell me, if you're not an Asgilist, what are you voting?
Voting? My good gnome, I am entirely apolitical.
Ah, I see. You're an agent of complete narcissism.
I don't know that word. Your comment doesn't even faze me.
That's okay. Also, you called me a gnome, so I'm going to try to insult you.
Fair, that was a blunder. He sniffs.
Now, for something else, before I start ranting about the suffrage movement.
Your companion glances at you. No, please, I really, really want to know what you're thinking about the suffragettes. The halfling wags his finger at you.
You're a brave man, cleric.
Thanks. Wink at him. Stop doing that. He can't even see it. Because I'm wearing a bucket on my head.
When the first talks of an election began, it was late Arcane era. About 30 years ago. To those early days, the suffragettes were mostly dwarven women. They had the backing of a few hardcore universal Asgilist sects, and that had remained since the Great Project concluded. But when Earth died and talks of an election grew loud, the dwarven women had a hard time getting through, both because of the less progressive Asgilists and, of course, the traditional cultural practices of the Earth folk. So, the movement didn't kick into gear properly until, of course, human women decided to join.
Oh boy, those are scary.
Tell me about it. Mind you, this was for almost 2 decades of dwarven women pushing for universal suffrage. Within a few years, with the voice of angry human women yelling and writing and protesting, the palace patriarchy gave in. That's a historical lesson, but here's the part I'm fucking furious over.
What?
Those rich human women, do you know what happened to them?
He waves his hand.
I'll tell you. How many of them are today fascists? Can you imagine? They run an incredible campaign in order to get the right to vote, to break their chains of oppression, piss off the tyrannical men, smash the patriarchy, and so on, all to throw their lot in with that very same traditional ideology. An ideology that clearly wants to, well, of course, also just not have any voting going on at all, but specifically not allow women to vote.
That's ridiculous. Why would they do that?
I asked the same. A part of me is thinking that it has to do with some type of opportunism. Those women are time in the spotlight ended once they won their right to vote. Suddenly, their entire platform of activism disappeared overnight. But even still, why nationalists?
They realize that the homeland needs protection, surely.
Perhaps there's some, if you don't mind my speculating wildly, some type of perverse psychosexual thing at play here.
What? No. nationalism is a pure ideology. There is no sex involved. Sex. Dwarven for the number 6. Never stops being funny.
Sex. Survival mechanism for all mortal folk.
Sex. Duality of man to sin, to be a father, to live, to reproduce in the name of Earth.
Sex is fun. Or it is simply a question of class. It probably is, yes, probably. They're mostly a group of rich people, and that would logically supersede their identity as women. If the rich human position in society is threatened, they have more or less, they have more to lose as rich women than more to lose rich than as women. It's a complex topic, and I don't have fucking time to think about it, even though I want to desperately figure it out. But that is just something I'm fascinated by, you know. The halfling rants about things he's trying to understand. He's able to capture an audience the way he clearly. Anyway.
Can you give me some mind healing?
Of course! I am, however, a bit swamped in work right now. I'll get you a booked slot. I have time after the election. You should come and visit then.
Can you make time now?
No, I'm afraid I cannot. Truth be told, I'm very overworked. I'm struggling with a certain topic.
He makes a noise that might have once been a cough.
What? I am focusing on a specific idea of, civics. The idea of two opposing faces of your ego, masculine and feminine. But I can't seem to get past a certain hurdle obstacle.
Explain.
You see, there is a work called Book of the Mind. It is, in my opinion, Civitic's masterpiece in the figurative sense.
Oh, it's like a secret book hidden deep in some dungeon?
Oh no, I own several copies. There's a rare edition of this book which contains a rumored so-called final foreword from Civitic's himself. In this foreword, he apparently reveals a revelation about this categorization of the psyche, specifically on the topic of gender. Truly eldritch knowledge. Might be nothing, but it would be highly interesting to get my grubby hands on it. He leans in and whispers, and more importantly, it would bring me great pleasure to know how much Civitic's would be spinning in whatever Thesasian mass grave he's buried in if he knew a halfling like me was pioneering in his footsteps. Ho ho!
He, wasn't a fan?
Like most humans of his era, he was very, let's say, humanity first. Snur leans back in his chair. This final 6th edition of the book, it was only printed in 10 copies. The publisher then hiked up the price in order to sell it to collectors. Those collectors have then spent the last 3 decades using these copies as a form of investment, making sure to keep the contents of the foreword a tightly guarded secret.
How terrible. A scholar's words should be freely available.
Nothing is ever free, even if it is free.
So what, you want me to find this rare book? He nods.
I drank a bit too much the other night, and in my desperation I paid a diviner to cast Locate Object for me. I didn't expect anything, and it was very expensive. However, she actually found it. A copy of the 6th edition of the Book of the Mind is here, very close to Water Lane View. And she even told me its exact directions. He points to the floor, about 40 meters straight down.
Meters?
Right. That is something like 100 feet, 150 feet maybe. Sorry, the diviner was a freestrider. You know, they're all like in reeds, silly decimal people.
It's in the city below?
Yes, exactly.
And you trust this diviner?
Well, trust might be a bit strong of a word. But she was connected to the freestriders, and while they are ruthless capitalists, they would not keep a scam artist around. Or if they did, it'd at least be very funny, of course.
What's the name of this diviner?
Lisa, I believe. He sniffs. She used to have a hut on top of the freestrider building. It wandered away, I think.
Wandered? He makes little walking legs motion with his fingers.
Skadoodled as they do.
It's very strange.
She seemed kind. I hope she stops working for those fucking parasites.
This sounds like a quest.
Sure, why not? So many side quests.
Smells nutters to himself.
Delve into the dangerous tunnels below and get me that book. Don't get yourself killed. In the exchange, I will, well, what the fuck kind of reward do you want?
Ooh, what do we want? You swear a lot. I want you to teach me how to be a man. I want you to heal my broken mind. I don't know, do you have a magic item or something? Let's go with the broken mind, because I have a feeling like we have lots of magic items. But what? This might be like a stat bump. Let's go with that.
Impossible. No one can fix another's mind. I can't promise support, but no guarantee to choose something else.
Swear a lot.
Yeah, fuck you. Life is pain, get over it.
I don't know, you have a magic item or something? He shrugs.
I have books in droves. You know what?
He says and snaps his fingers.
The book itself, it's expensive and probably magical in some sense. Get me the book, let me take a look at that forward, and you keep the book afterwards. That's still a quest, right?
But I don't have to even return to you in this case. I can just take the book and go.
True.
He sighs.
I suppose I can offer some guidance in understanding the book as well, if you let me make a copy of the forward real quick.
This quest will be completed.
Huzzah.
Please don't huzzah. Yell, huzzah!
I am no expert in that kind of weird shit is down there, but the city below is dangerous, so don't wander blindly.
Make no understand good. Meet the War Master in time for traps.
Good luck, cleric.
Yeah, exactly. Huzzah! We will all do it together on 1, 2, 3. Huzzah! I want to inquire about this folk spirit.
Imagine, if you will, the origin of our stories.
All stories?
Yes, all of them.
As sentient folk, we clearly have the base ability to come up with random ideas and turn them into emotionally resonant tales. Sorry, Zykes, I didn't mean to honk your dog into toy looking.
Tales that explore the condition of life itself and make us feel many things. But an interesting thing happens if one of us were to study the core parts of these stories. That even if we look at stories crafted in entirely different bands, separate, isolated tribes, or even in worlds outside of yourself, there's overlap.
Should I just let him speak?
Just repeat the last thing you said. That'll make you sound smart.
Overlap?
Indeed. Humans who live in the remote mountains of Yim have the same repeated tropes in their fundamental myths as humans in reeds. Same as halflings. The Stormbloods of my Kargmesh have the same variations as my people in Fordnip, despite being separated in esoteric evolution by at least 10 millennia. It's as if every folk is haunted by a spirit, like an unconscious collective dream of concepts and ideas that follow us. Even when those separate folk originate from entirely different worlds, could you imagine? Two folk arrive through separate gates of yore. They are alien to one another culturally, spiritually, biologically. Yet, they share those core myths. That is what I am studying.
Don't let him rant anymore, please. That is very interesting.
Isn't it? Most importantly, it's provable.
How is it provable?
reproductivity analysis.
Redo- reproductibility analysis. It's reproductible.
Cultures and folk who have no contact with one another, even originating from different worlds, have both the same core myths: narrative, traits, archetypes, repeated tropes. It's the same method used when uncovering ancient dead languages, using common denominators to narrow down similarities and differences. He adjusts his mustache. Now, there hasn't been that much reproducibility yet from my peers. I'm still working on getting other scholars on the topic.
Is there a folk spirit that's better than the others?
Better means nothing. There's so much weight to put into making one great in some perspective than another, and it's just a ridiculous game of dick swinging. Of course, I also hate this horrible idea that every culture is amazing and wonderful and, everyone is holding hands and dancing together. No! Every culture is equally terrible. But they are all specialized. These symbols we produce are clothed in meaning based on lived experience. A human living in the frozen tundra will derive and require much different practical uses of these core myths than a man living in the harsh deserts. Yet each folk type has its own fundamental traits that these symbols represent.
That's very interesting.
It is a lot of junk with some nuggets of gold, that much I will say.
What happens when two folk types merge?
Ah, yes.
He lifts a finger.
No clue. It is even harder to pinpoint due to the nature of merging cultures. In cases like humans and dwarves here in Norvik, there's more data, but not enough to say anything of note. But it seems to me like the folk spirits remain pure in a sense, in one direction or the other. For example, humans can obviously reproduce with dwarves, but the offspring is always aesthetically and biologically speaking very human, which does not make sense biologically. We are scientifically speaking different species. Dogs do not breed with cats, do they? The same effect can be seen in most functional folk mixed breeding. Logically, it should not be. Evolutionary adaptation dictates that creation of a mixture, not one-sided creatures, so it is theorized to be some type of powerful esoteric effect that allows this reproduction to take place. In the scholarly community, we call it the Oso effect, one-sided offspring.
But doesn't that mean that dwarves would eventually stop existing in Norvik and just become human?
That's a good question. If two people live alongside one another for a long enough time and they reproduce with one another equally, but the offspring are aesthetically human, then yes. Eventually there would be only one people, and it would be people who look human. However, there is a big factor in charge here, that is the elusive and enticing topic of mating preferences. There is not much proven data I can point to, but if you allow me to speculate, then I will say only a minority of the population of any tribe will ever have a strict preference for mating outside of that tribe. Without a basic assumption like that, I do not believe the tribe itself would remain intact enough for civilization to emerge. So, in the case of dwarves and Norvik, I do not believe the two tribes can ever truly merge. Cooperate, yes. Cohabitate, of course. Even mingle and date and crossbreed, absolutely. Why not? But merge? Nah, impossible. Of course, this assumption ignores the Oso effect, so it feels a bit crackpotty. Take it as you wish. You know a lot about this topic, huh? Once again, I'm afraid this is all coming from experiments performed by archivists, horrifyingly so.
So one-sided is always dominant, huh?
Not biologically speaking, but esoterically, yes, objectively so. There is a list of hierarchy in some textbooks, but it's a pretty taboo topic, as you might imagine.
And you think the folk spirit follows the one-sided offspring? Move on.
Maybe. I have not done enough work to say anything for sure, nor have I been peer-reviewed, nor am I a very sane or stable individual.
He grins. I think I understand now. The goblin crosses his arm, ready to hear your comment. The halfling scholar leans back in his armchair. I got something cool cooking here.
Oh, you do?
He gives you a quick nod.
I would not spend my old age here if I did not agree in some deep sense.
He sniffs.
Thank you for listening to my rant, cleric. You as well, my goblin friend. You're welcome.
You're an expert in alignment, huh?
Somewhat. I wrote my masterpiece on the subject. That should account for somewhat of an understanding on the subject, but not enough. Never enough.
He sniffs. You can change your alignment.
Of course, any creature is capable of leaning in the axis depending on their day-to-day actions.
So devils are just lazy then? He scratches his cheek.
A bit more complicated than that. Look, like all things, it's messy. Let's say you're lawful evil.
I'm not.
Sure, but for the sake of this argument, let's hypothetically assume you are.
Okay, I'm not. A moment of silence from the halfling scholar seems to indicate that he is contemplating whether or not you are capable of entertaining hypothetical reasoning at all, which, from your statement here, you are not at least very much indicating that you are not.
Let us pretend you are. You find that being labeled as evil is bad for your business or your work prospects, as one might. So you choose to donate a large sum of money to charity that will inevitably help thousands. You might even save some lives with those spent coins.
But you said I was evil. Fucking like Patrick here. Okay, exactly, that's not my wallet. That's exactly, I'm really tempted. I'm gonna go with that.
Yes, but you're trying not to be. In this case, you've performed an objectively good, selfless action for evil, selfish reasons. So, what happens next?
He points at you.
Nothing.
Nothing, but I did good thing.
You remain lawful evil. But let's change the parameters. Instead, you are a lawful evil man who genuinely wishes to repent, to pay for the evil things you've done in your life before. If this man performs a selfless action with the intentions of selflessness, then all of the sudden it would begin to shift his alignment.
What if the outcome is really, really big?
Does not matter in the slightest. This effect has obviously been studied for centuries. It's aptly named alignment intent studies. I personally received my scholarship through studying delusional intent. We gathered a large amount of very mentally unwell people, mostly from local prisons and post-war reads, who truly believed a very different worldview than most others. For example, this one man was certain that he had to kill his fellow man, or the world would end. 1 murder a week. An extreme delusion. However, any detect spell showed him to be neutral good, and he felt terrible about all the murders he had committed. He was not selfish. In fact, he was more selfless than most, willing to perform acts that horrified him in order to save us all. The objective outcome of his actions mattered not, no more than the outcomes of the actions of a person under a charm spell.
So, what if you're not smart enough to understand your actions?
That is what we call the sentience line. It's not exact. Animals, for example, are true neutral by default, and it is not a pure beast, but rather affected by esoteric forces on some level. That's the theory, at least. But imagine a man who loses enough of his mental faculties to be considered a beast, no longer living in the world of good or evil. Let's say he was chaotic good beforehand. What happens to his alignment? Does he suddenly turn true neutral? Is he stuck at chaotic good, or does he somehow slide towards true neutral? Because that's another thing. There is no known way to perform a neutral reaction. All actions are either some level of selfish, selfless, lawful, or chaotic, on a wide spectrum. But you can never just move towards the center. It's just not allowed. How do you end up with your alignment to begin with? Are you born with it? No. All creatures are born true neutral. And all reported metrics show babies are unable to perform alignment shifts until the age of about 3 to 7, depending on the folk. But interestingly enough, it's shown that most people who will only perform 1 or 2 alignment shifts in their entire lifetime. He scratches his cheek during and sniffs a couple of times. During adolescence. After that, less than 1/10 of folk will ever shift again. That is fairly substantially verified data as well. So, essentially, despite having free will, folk will always lean towards that neutral behavior over time. So we're slaves to our natures. On a broad scales, when looking at data, yes. But it was Civitics who wrote, "There is no honor in branding a naturally selfless man as good. There's all honor in a selfish monster receiving the same title." Remember that. What's the difference between alignment and personality? Not too much correlation on paper. Studies on personality show that there is overlap. Contentious folk tend to be more lawful. Neurotic and open folk tend to be more good to a minor degree. But we're talking about still unverified and very minor correlations. Wait, does that mean everything I do is branded as good, evil, chaotic, or lawful? Even this that I'm saying right now? In a small sense, yes. The very act of speaking, no matter what you say, will always give you very, very small points in any direction. Although, could you imagine trying to keep track of it all? It'd be insane! So, no person will ever go to such lengths, so no one will keep track of stuff like that. It'll only drive you mad. Yeah. So no person would ever go to such lengths, so no need to keep track of such stuff like that. It'll only drive you mad. That's a lesson for you DMs who track alignment. So you can will yourself into changing your alignment? And there, yes. I've made my decision. Move on. I'm sorry, what? Oh fuck, I get to choose my alignment. Yeah, assuming this is similar to D&D and Pathfinder's alignment system, that means things like good, evil, lawful, and chaotic are not only axiomatic, but objective. I think it's really good. He makes a lot of interesting points. Chaotic neutral. 10. I want to opt out of this alignment thing. It's not my style. I'm apolitical, you see. Oh, yeah, I'm apolitical. That is not how it works, cleric. You carry the apolitical weight of a dedicated apolitical person. You gain 50 XP 5 times 10. You have to be incredibly deluded, and I mean an absolute living in your own world, mentally unstable in order to simply decide what your alignment were and actually get an outcome from it. But I suppose it can't hurt. Good luck being... I'm sorry, what did you choose again? It was, yes? Lawful good, of course. Give until your bones hit the pavement. Neutral good. That's what keeps your innards from cramping at night. You know, you're not a burden upon the world. You're not gonna like this, but your goal is to end up on top right, win every conversation, and you're not really moving along the axis of law, so you're neutral evil. Though seriously, whatever you do not tell that to the halfling. You should just opt out.
Yeah, I'm opting out.
A truly horrific choice, he says and laughs. But to be clear, it's metaphysically possible to make neutral choices. You will always lean some way in the axis unless you lobotomize yourself or do nothing ever.
A labot. That sounds good. I'll try and get one of those. What if I just die? I'll do nothing. That sounds apolitical. Great. Yeah, let's. I'll try and get one of those. A lobotomy. He nods. Good luck with that, cleric. What does good mean?
What a question! I cannot offer a universal answer. That is impossible, of course. But from the data, there are a few ways of distilling the essence of goodness. For example, the amount of good you are is directly correlated with the amount of time you spend inside your own mind, worrying about how much pain you've inflicted upon the world. And of course, practically, it also means performing selfless actions. Performative sacrifices done entirely for the purpose of helping others, instant goodness.
What does the evil mean?
Most people would say they know it when they see it, but practically it means selfishness. For example, a person with a mental pathology that disallows compassion and empathy, making them naturally only hold care for oneself and their own self, that is naturally an evil individual. But at the same time, we are all basically evil, egotistical, disgusting creatures in the end, if push comes to shove. As they say, since obviously all of us have part of that is focused more on our own survival rather than survival of the foreign. Otherwise, we would not be alive in the evolutionary sense.
What does chaotic mean?
Now, that can be difficult to parse sometimes. We've done many experiments to try to distill the exact meaning of it. It's difficult. Mainly because you decide what is law, gods, your local government, village elder. No, what is chaos and order is universal. A law can be chaotic as contradictory as it sounds if it dictates bringing chaos into the world. But generally, what we found is that there are a few common rules that chaos follows. Breaking down structures, whatever that is, a building or a hierarchy of society. Lies, in fact, any action that purposely goes down a known truth is considered chaotic. And of course, randomization. Rolling a dice is inherently chaotic act, as in any form of gambling. That's actually one of the easiest ways to measure chaotic behavior. We used to go to the local gambling parlor. Good dives.
So, okay. You could be a chaotic character if you just rolled your dice to determine your answers. So, using a magic 8-ball, for instance, to dictate your answers would make you chaotic, because inherently you are using a die to provide your answers. Interesting concept. I like it. What does lawful mean?
Lawful actions can be difficult to perform. It's all about building. Crafting buildings, for one, or hierarchies of structure, keeping families intact and orderly organizations, as well as following the truth. There have been many tyrannical lawful governments throughout history that quickly succumbed to chaos due to their warping of the truth itself. But then again, you can convince people to enter another reality, if you will, where a lie is true. Then all of a sudden the folk in that reality will be lawful despite working and living in a lie. It can be very convoluted and fascinating. Who decides what any of this means? There are theories. Some say it's the gods. Some say it's Yor himself who controls the parameters in this world of his. Some believe it is simply inscribed into the universe as absolute law.
Could we change it?
Who knows? Maybe you can. Maybe you cannot.
Does alignment matter?
Oh no, not in any real way. It could be a tool, but if you cannot read it properly, seeing a man branded with chaotic evil means nothing. But if you learn it can be used to understand folk better, you can statistically expect an evil person to act in their own interest, and you can expect a good person to act in the interest of others. A smart man can use this to his advantage, which is also an evil act. I believe. Funny how it goes. Why isn't it illegal to be evil? Might as well make it illegal to be sentient. Branding it as evil might be the core problem there. There were arcanists who created alternate naming conventions for alignment, altruism and egotism, for example, but it did not catch on, as they say. But everyone has to be evil sometimes. Imagine your family is starving, alongside two other families who are also starving. The other families are smaller folk, who need only half as much of food. Would you feed your own family, or sacrifice them to feed the other two families?
The only correct option. Feed your family. Except yourself. Use your own food to feed the children of the other families. Then die honorably.
Kender is it's like a halfling, but from Dragonlance. They're like kleptomaniac halflings. Why, hello, TK45546713. How are you doing today? I don't have a family of my own. No, it's a thought experiment. Imagine if you do. Depends. What are the other families like? I feed my family, except myself. My own food would go to the children of the other families. That, among all other options, is, I would indeed argue, a purely selfless action indeed. But what exactly is objectively considered an alignment terms in this scenario? Is it selfish to care for your own people before others? Has it more to do with the exact number of people who live or die, suffer or prosper in a purely utilitarian perspective? These questions have all been asked before and have arguably been answered. From what we can see, especially looking at the data collected from horrendously unethical experiments performed by arcanist scholars, it's just about intention. If a man chooses to focus on his own family but feels really bad about the other starving families, then he'll be more good than another man who does not think of the others suffering at all. The proximity rule states that the emotional distance between yourself and the target determines the level of selfishness. If you sacrifice your life to protect your family, that's more selfish than if you sacrifice your life for a stranger. The latter is more good. So, in the end, a genuinely selfless person will always have a much easier time being branded with good than a naturally selfish one. He scratches his hairy eyebrows simultaneously. By the gods, I talk too much. Make me stop. Alright, that's all about alignment for now. Okay, good. He wiped some sweat off his brow. What about gender swapping? The great fluidity of bodily life. There's a bunch of laws about it. Polymorphic stuff, I don't really care really. It's more interesting to ask, what is the spectrum you're set up for us? When someone drinks one of these hit mirror gender potions, as they're called, they don't really give you an ideal body, like you'd imagine a kind of trashy, unkempt born male would drink it and turn into a hot young woman, but that is not the case. The esoteric nature of it does create a sort of perfect mirror of the original drinker, so if the drinker was kind of slouchy and not so fit, the opposite gender version would retain those features along with any aesthetic unfortunatalities. He laughs. I would obviously not be so great-looking woman myself if I were to guess. But anyway, one of the things our draconic Arcanist overlords did for us in the last era was discover and calculate the fact that this switch is absolutely not binary. In biology, it somewhat makes sense. One either has or does not have the overarching male or female practicalities, tits or cock, you know? But when you look at it on the inside, in your mind, it turns out there is an entirely other calculation happening in the spectrum of the masculinity to femininity, or vice versa. And this is no binary, and while it is highly correlated with your body, it is not aligned exactly. That is how you have, as I'm sure you've met in your life, highly feminine men and highly masculine women. The more extremes end up here are absolutely statistical anomalies, and they're still very much real. I think I get it. Some men are weaker and some women are stronger. Now you're applying the idea of weakness and strength to them as well, since women have much less muscle mass, right? And the most interesting part is this mental gender spectrum state we all find ourselves on. They appear fixed. At some point during our childhood, it is determined exactly to find yourself how manly or womanly you end up being as you grow up. And I do not believe he came up with this. I believe he simply modeled strings to follow, the same pattern as the rest of reality. His structure allows us to see this precisely. And when a person drinks a mirror gender potion, their physical binary existence is not flipped, yes, but their mind, it does not move one bit. If you are a man, you drink the potion, you come out being a man in a woman's body. But what if you're the world's most feminine man? You'd be the world's most normal woman in a woman's body. Same with a masculine woman. She would become no different in mind and body from the average man if she drinks it. Our statistics show that someone like 90% of people lie on the bodily correct side of the spectrum, and only a few percentages are anywhere close to the average of the opposite side. So, while some bitch and moan about, oh, this is trickery and fakery, if one were to switch out their bodily reality and so on, it seems to be just a question of some people wanting their body reality to conform to their position on the spectrum. Of course, some people do it just for kicks and boners, but that I see as just the spirit of curiosity and wondering debauchery, and wonderful debauchery. And don't get me started on sexuality. That is an entirely separate but highly connected, of course, can of worms. I believe we should stay in the physical shape we were born in. Polymorphism is foul. People really should apply their physical realities to align with their mental ones. As long as you're not hurting anybody. As a wizard, I believe you have the power to change reality, as you should do it at your whim. Interesting. We'll go 3. As long as you're not hurting anyone. That's more or less the official legal stance of Norvik from my understanding. But anyway, he sniffs while cleaning his glasses. What does death and resurrection work with all this stuff? I'm going to grab some water. I will be right back.
so many choices. Yes, the water break. How does death and resurrection work with all this stuff?
What do you mean exactly?
Can death change your nature? A frown spreads across his face.
Necromancers and old arcane era traditions did much study on the topic. And yes, death and subsequent resurrection can function as a reset for the mind in a way, but arguably no less than any other severe trauma. The data is hard to trust, however, so I will not say for sure. There is much to study to do on the topic, and I am no expert.
Is there a soul?
The fuck do I know?
He laughs.
Ghosts exist, of course, as do wraiths and other foul and dead spirit things. And there's much arcanist data on such things like if a person is resurrected, their ghost cease to be. That implies the ghost is their soul, right? But Speak with Bed does not. In fact, a ghost is technically able to ask questions to its very own corpse. Very surreal. Which implies the soul also leaves a conscious remnant of itself which is able to be animated through magic. And if a person is resurrected, even after a very long period of time, they will have no memory of their time as a free soul. Thus, there's evidence that the soul is not so much your personahood. That shit is all up in the brain from what we can see, but rather just some type of divine spark. Like a power source that wants to be one with the universe or your god. The Lich is specifically a creature who consumes these so-called souls for their own gain, which is not very common. Destruction on that magical spark is of course a horrid crime of metaphysical level, since resurrection, rebirth, or unity with one's god is impossible at that point. But then again, back in this day, it used to be common for mortals to sell their souls to various devils or aberrations.
So you're saying I should sell my soul?
I suppose the more interesting question is to ask, do you even own your soul? And who are you in relation to your soul?
Can one spontaneously resurrect themselves?
I've not heard such a thing, but why not?
I've got some other questions.
Okay.
Why don't you use your magic in your mind healing?
It does not work. Not the greatest arcanist could invent a spell capable of fixing mental unwellness. If you happen to find a cure mind spell, that would make a fucking fortune casting it on rich people around the coast. Although, just the thought of such magic gives me a sort of ontological nightmare. What does it mean to have a cured mind? Did your or some outside god at some point decide what constitutes a wound of the mind, in the very same way suffering is used to heal wounds of the physical? Pain equals negativity. That is universal.
The universal indicator of the negative.
Yes. When you heal a person, magic itself targets the source of the pain, not a sort of bullseye for reverting any harm, no matter the source of specific biological of the person.
Posture check. Yeah. The stretch. Oh, stretch. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Good times.
But what if one suffers from night terrors caused by some horrors of the past? Should a mind heal spell remove your ability to have night terrors? Or should it remove their traumatic source from your memory? Or simply lessen your mental abilities of neuroticism? Could the latter lead to a society without neurotic people? Would that also dampen others' fears? What would your consider to be a good level of negative thoughts? It sends my mind spinning.
There is a reason why that spell does not exist.
Indeed.
The halfling leans back in his chair.
No, the mind requires another method, One Eye and many others are attempting to untangle. We will see if any of us are even remotely successful in this brain bullshit.
Where do you say should I look for this book you needed?
He leans 120 feet.
Then he points straight down. What do you know about the tea shop, the one that exploded?
Horrific.
He gestures wildly towards the rocky wall.
Shit started shaking. It was as if the red rock of Tulsa itself was cracking. For half a second or so.
So you're down here when it happened?
Yes. I think I was asleep, but the sound woke me up.
Did you check it out?
No. Someone told me later what it was. I have work to do here.
You heard anything about it? Rumors?
You should not believe rumors, cleric. But yes, I did hear some nasty stuff. Some people seem to think the owner did it himself since he is missing. Some others think the city did it since they printed a clear lie on the post. I also heard people say the Aeschylus are responsible since it was their hideout. Or that the Free Striders did it for the same reason, blowing up Aeschylus opposition and so on. It's all bullshit, of course, if you believe the rumors.
What do you think happened? He shrugs violently. Got some other questions. You're a halfling, right? Give me your thoughts on the Clanland ordeal.
Ordeal?
He scratches his nose and looks up into the air.
My homeland is a shell of broken people. The clan and my kin, especially those stuck under occupation across the Golden Line, they are being systematically destroyed, step by step, as the Horde marches into the Ascani lands.
I read about that. The Golden Horde claimed a part of the Escan.
A big chunk, yes. Then they put up their esoteric wall.
He grunts.
The clan lands deal, this armistice, was seen by many as a practical solution, since only 2 clans were left to be enslaved and the integrated as Horde tributaries. Clanlands, a term for the unified halfling state in Western Ascan. The official name is the Ford-Nip Commonwealth, although many avoid this term as not to annoy envoys of the Golden Horde.
He slams his hand into the side of the chair.
It's a band-aid. Celestials view time in centuries while we see it in decades at best. Thus, they have to take one piece at a time with generational acceptance in between. It is the most clean method of genocide, one of radiant ghosts and insidious toxic love.
Are the Celestials influential in Norvik?
Yes. They have a lot of soft power and trade mostly. The Horde ambassador is known to fling their contracts around like a devil in disguise, mostly to stop halfling owner corporations from operating without major hassle. Any halfling would tell you the same. They likely don't care for tiny clinics like my own, but they will not stop in the material realm. They must go to the physic as well.
What?
The Golden Horde. Their annexation of the land is just the final step before there comes many little crushings of thoughts and dreams and a tyranny of pure ideology. They shape perceptions to maintain control.
What will happen to them?
Tomorrow? Nothing. In a decade? Not much. Fort Nip will stand by the time I die. In 30 or 40 years, by the end of this new era, my homeland will surely be eradicated. That is my estimation.
Did you live in the clan lands?
When the Golden Line was drawn? Yes. It was not that interesting, but I was on the western side when it happened. There wasn't enough food to go around, so I pulled some strings to smuggle myself east. It's a whole story. I can't say much more. My clan, the Appledents, all live in Tipbury, so it's not some big personal tragedy on my part. It's more of a folkish destruction, a grander trauma. Something generational, even if it was there to witness. I imagine you could feel something similar to that to the Coast War.
So he's kind of like a halfling Sigmund Freud, but during the fall of World War II and the drop of the Iron Curtain. Interesting. Very interesting. That's actually extremely interesting. You could write a book on that.
I have. Can't get it published, though. No one wants to deal with legal threats from the Horde.
Fascinating. Even in Norvik?
Even in Norvik.
Isn't there resistance in Fort Nip?
Of course! It's a whole damn mess. Ignoring the actual guerrilla resistance west of the line, there has been a massive rally around anti-celestial sentiment in the east. They have attempted sanctions with Norvik, VK, and even Ilium backing.
VK, slang for the Vizka, as it needed to be shortened.
There's even been coast-spanning outreach all the way to Kargamish to build some type of coast-spanning halfling coalition. Nothing works. The Horde has a finger in almost every trade port. They own the land and hold strings ties to every regime. Even Norvik has not officially backed their neighbors without Earth, and with Lady Fair not so existing, they are, as the kids say, it's steamed.
You kids don't say that.
As you can imagine, the halfling population of the hills are not too happy about this, but what can they do? An Asgil victory might change things, but the Free Striders are the celestial pockets as they are patriarchs. So yes, there is resistance, but as of yet, there is no practical way of this fog being boiled, I'm afraid.
What do they want with the clan land so badly? He waves his hand.
It's basic resource conflict. Oh? Amber, Electrum.
I've heard the Fort Nip has a bunch of mining operations.
A big fucking understatement. The Commonwealth is the only reliable source of amber for many, many esoteric use cases. Spell storing, item crafting, concentration, esoteric attunement. It is extremely useful material, a powerful one, so it is really no wonder the Horde wants to expand their golden line. If Norbik was more reliant on amber as a resource, I'm sure they would too covet those hills. But trading with the halflings does not seem so different from trading with the Horde, at least not today.
That's all I wanted to ask.
Yes.
I have some personal questions for you.
Nothing too interesting there. I see no reason why you'd investigate an old halfling with nothing good to grant into the world.
You seem interesting enough.
Kind of you, but you're wrong. My work is the only thing that is interesting, I assure you.
Ramshackle salvage. Meat spaghetti's done. Steak bits came out a bit too tough, but it soaked the taste of the good sauce. Well, I mean, that's always good.
My work is the only thing that is interesting, I assure you.
Fine. Keep your secrets, old man. Well, that's all for now. Thank you, citizen. Holy shit, that was, Well, we should probably put our stat bump into strength, don't you think? Yeah. Holy Shazbot. Alright, so now we got a 3rd level spell. Holy cow. Okay, so now we got a new quest. Find the book. Which is down. What the... I think we're gonna go down here, because I don't know what's down this way. Actually, what I need to do... Oh my god. What I need to do is head back to my bed. Oh my god, it's fucking full of dwarves. Not that it's a bad thing, but you know. The depths of Tolstad. Because we're gonna fondle the pillar. The pillar of your towers before you. It whispers to you unintelligibly. Touch the wondrous pillar. You place your hand upon the smooth surface. The whispers get louder. It says something to you, something weird. No, wait! It's a conversation. One you don't take part in. Guess you could try to join in. Fuck yeah, DC 3. Speak. Hello? My goblin perks up.
Not me, sorry.
The pillar vibrates. Hello. The whisper lies inside of you or something. It says, he is here. Who is here? It says, divinity. It says, death. It says, necrocrat. What? The voice ends. Your hand is repelled from the surface. Ouch! Step back. Weird. You understand plainly there is more to this pillar than you need to investigate in time and further below. Okay. The fuck is this? What the fuck is that? What the fuck are all these places? Main entrance of the Drunk Sphinx. Path up to Tolstad. Tunnel to the Goblin Garden. It smells musky. What is this? Dormitory out of commission. Regular says Simile, son of Strokeback. Rough just says RNA. Is this Snell's house? It's Snell's house. Yeah, we're gonna loot fucking Snell's house. Hell yeah. A glowstone lantern. A glowstone lantern. Hey Snell, you need help fixing this thing?
Well, that's okay, cleric.
Glom doesn't know what's best for him. Alright, fix the lantern. Of course. You spend a few minutes looking it over, realizing a bit later that you should have, that there's an esoteric effect on the lantern itself. Investigating it further reveals the issue, the glowstone's connection with the flimsy metal plate around it. While the heat remained and the stone is quite hot, its weak esoteric light was esoterically spread out across the full surface of the lantern instead of focused on the glowstone itself. Reattach the glowstone without burning yourself. With a click snap, the light returns to the lantern. Such a simple solution, you should have come up with it quicker. I fixed the lamps now.
Huh, thanks.
He gives you a thumbs up. The goblin speaks your language. Such gratitude. Now you won't have to trip when going to the bathroom in the middle of the night anymore.
That's not really a problem, you know.
He points at his eyes.
Dark vision.
Then why do you have the lamp?
It's not perfect dark vision.
He stretches a bit.
But yeah, the fixed lamp will help. Thanks, cleric.
I'm so good at tinkering with stuff. You're slightly above average, which says more about the average than it does you. Nice. Ooh, look at this. There's all sorts of shit. Ah! Bagatelle. The goblin has some good taste then. What is that? Snell's boxes. Oh, fuck yeah. Look at all this shit. Snell, you got all this cool shit in your house, man. Can I mess with it? Look at the mattress. The mattress is extra thick.
Probably expensive.
This material goes for extra in every outlet. However, the claim that these contain yim silk is ridiculous. Anything over a tiny fraction would make half the bed invisible. Scam then. Pretty good scam. Can I take a nap, Snell?
What? No!
He yells from across the apartment.
Do you even think about getting it? Do not even think about getting into my bed.
You could join too.
That's definitely worse.
Come on, let's have a nap, buddy.
Even worse.
Thanks, bed. He sure is the type to have a photo of himself on the wall. Family. Alright. Let's look at this thing. You stand before a wooden board covered in stretches of various people, each of them connected via long red threads. Take a look at the sketches. You see several faces you recognize and some you don't. A bird man with a black and white pattern along with the note, Tea Shop Owner. The bulky merman with the extra text, Rival? No. Unibituous? A stout-looking dwarf in uniform with a hammer symbol in the corner. Patron? A stylized orc with a Freestrider heart symbol in the corner. Completely unaffiliated. Suspicious. A pale man holding a skull. No motive. A man with a fancy beard and a fish symbol in the corner. Suppressing info. Beware. Then finally you look over at the central piece. The beautiful rendition of Lady Sageleaf herself. His devotion is clear in his art piece. Her note reads, Enemies, spies, city conspiracy. What's this, Snell? Looking over from across the apartment.
Oh, yeah, a project visualizer. Helps me keep track of jobs. You can check it out if you want. I haven't done much other than a basic outline of the tea shop yet. I'm busy with all this running around.
Looks like a ton of work.
It's not really. I haven't had much downtime yet. Once we're finished, I'll make sure to compile it in a proper report for the old lady.
Interesting. Anything else here? Oh, here we go. You don't really fit back there. Nice. Got a lot of good shit rummaging through his place. Where does that go? He's outside eventually. Alright. Let us go up here. Because it's almost fucking midnight here. I wonder if these NPCs speak Simlish. Yeah, let's go up to Tolstad. That's where we need to go. Oh, neat. You know what? I have wisdom stuff. Oh. I have wisdom stuff. I'm gonna up my wisdom. Somehow. Don't judge. Do I need a book? Alright, anyway, that got my wisdom 10. Let's see what this does. Nature's reaching tall and deep. These roots go well below, even below. Okay, okay. Nope. Alright, well, I mean, I tried. Crap. I have to remember what the heck I had on there. Strength stuff, right? Yeah. That. There we go. Excellent. Alright, well, you know what? I'm going to save it here. Not a whole lot happened. We just had a metric ton of lore dump this game. You know, and sometimes it happens like that, so there's only so much you can do. There's a lot to go on with this game. But we'll probably start the game sleeping. There's some books I want to pilfer at our room, which is by the Celestial. It takes time, so I have to do it before she gets in the room. Otherwise, she won't let me read her books. And we want to snoop. So we will save that for next game. And next week. But I hope everyone has had a wonderful time. This has been Esoteric Ebb. We are at episode 9, going on to episode 10. And we're finishing up with the second day. So I will catch you all next week or sooner. Who knows? You know, it's always weird with, you know, when we can jump in and stream slots. So I want everyone to have a great night and think esoterically. Have a good night, folks.